Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
Henry stood in the bustling market of New Terra, the hum of intergalactic trade swirling around him like the vibrant colors of the stalls. Skinned fruits from distant planets, named things he couldn't pronounce, melted into the scent of alien spices. Traders shouted about their goods, an endless cacophony of voices that felt oddly reassuring. But for Henry, today wasn't just about navigation through the chaos. It was about survival. With a sigh, he ran a calloused hand through his unruly hair, eyeing a few crates stacked high with items he could sell back on Earth. The last war had left its mark, resources were scarce, and competition was fierce. Taking a deep breath, he approached the alien merchant he'd met weeks ago. The merchant had an air of desperation that Henry could sense from a distance. "Henry," the merchant waved, his three-fingered hand gesturing wildly. "I have a deal for you this time. Better payment." "I'm not interested in your deals unless it comes with credits I can use," Henry interrupted, his voice rough but firm, glancing at the nearby crowd. He couldn't afford any more failed transactions. The merchant leaned in, his eyes brightening as he pulled out a small device, activating it to reveal a holographic image. It displayed a graceful figure with iridescent skin, bound with gaudy chains. "This is Alessia," the merchant said, his voice lowering conspiratorially. "An alien slave. You accept her as payment." Henry felt his stomach twist uncomfortably. A slave? Disgust bubbled in him. Slavery was a practice denounced by most civilized worlds, including Earth. But as he peered into the merchant's eager eyes and the glimmering image of the alien woman, curiosity pulled him closer. "Yes, but not just any slave," the merchant insisted. "She is well. Let's say you will appreciate the company." With a heavy sigh, Henry contemplated the implications. This transaction felt wrong at its core, but desperation nagged at him. His debts were piling up, and he needed something, anything, to save his crumbling reputation. "Fine, but if this goes south, I will hold you responsible." The merchant grinned, revealing a set of sharp teeth. "Trust me, you won't regret it." Within the hour, Henry found himself standing before Alessia in a dimly lit room at the merchant's shipping dock. She was indeed breathtaking. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes sparkled with a peculiar intensity. Yet, the chains binding her wrists contrasted painfully with her exotic beauty. "Welcome," he greeted, attempting to mask his unease and curiosity. "I'm Henry." She looked at him, her gaze steady yet filled with a mixture of defiance and sadness. "I am Alessia. What is it you want from me?" The sharpness of her question caught him off guard. "Nothing. I accepted you as," he hesitated, searching for the right words, "as payment." A shadow crossed her face, and Henry suddenly felt the weight of his decision. "This isn't right," he muttered to himself. "I can't just stand by while." "While what?" Alessia interjected. "While I am meant to be a tool for your benefit." Henry shifted uncomfortably under her fierce gaze. He had expected compliance, maybe submission, but her spirit ignited something within him, a flicker of hope that this would not be the end of either of their stories. "Look," he began, attempting to soften the interaction. "I don't want to treat you as a tool. We can make this work. I'll figure out how to break those chains." She studied him silently, and for the first time, something akin to a smile flickered on her lips. "You do that? For me?" "Of course we're in this together now," Henry replied, feeling a strange bond beginning to form. Despite the circumstances, he felt a pull towards her, something that suggested their meeting was not coincidental. Over their next awkward exchanges, they learned about each other's worlds and cultures. Henry shared crude stories of life on Earth post-war, while Alessia recanted tales of her royal upbringing. Their laughter echoed in the room, momentarily drowning out the grim situation surrounding them. Alessia, despite the chains, had an air of grace and intelligence that intrigued him more than he wanted to admit. Each word exchanged opened a door to understanding and intimacy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting ethereal shadows across the room. Henry couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a choice that could change both of their fates forever. The next few days blurred into a whirlpool of tension and discovery for Henry and Alessia. Each morning, he awoke with a sense of purpose, determined to forge a new path for both of them. He was no longer just a trader struggling to survive. He found himself drawn into Alessia's world, and it was as intoxicating as it was terrifying. "Hurry up, Henry. We have to move," Alessia urged one afternoon, her voice cutting through his thoughts as they planned their escape from the merchant's dock, where they'd been stashed like forgotten goods. The windows were barred, but Alessia already had ideas about how to elude their captors. Her intelligence was evident, her spirit unyielding even in chains. "Just a moment," he replied, rifling through boxes of goods. He was on a mission. "I'll find something we can use, tools, supplies, anything to help us." "Don't underestimate me," she said, her tone playful yet insistent. "I've had enough training to negotiate for my own life. Trust me. Together we will be stronger." Henry paused, sensing the truth in her words. During their conversations, she recounted the rigorous lessons of her upbringing, including negotiation tactics and strategies her family relied upon to maintain power. In moments where darkness threatened to engulf them, she'd reminded him of the fire within her. "Okay, I trust you. What's the plan?" he asked. Alessia grinned, a hint of mischief sparkling in her eyes. "First, we get rid of these chains. I know a way." As she painted her vision, Henry listened intently, captivated. The trust between them deepened, a bond he hadn't anticipated but was grateful for nonetheless. 2 days later, Henry had gathered some tools from the market, a mix of old Earth technology and alien artifacts. They sat in a secluded section of the dock, where crates of oddities loomed like sentinels. "Okay, I think I can get these to work," he said, kneeling before her. "You're resourceful," Alessia remarked, a flicker of admiration flashing upon her features. "It's one of the many things I find appealing about you." Henry's heart raced at her words. As he worked on the locks of her chains, their fingers brushed, and an electric spark coursed through him. "A lovely compliment from a princess," he murmured, trying to keep his tone light. "A princess, yes. But I am also more than that," she replied, her voice firm. "I am my own person, though my title often defines me." The locks clicked open, and the chains tumbled off her wrists. After a moment of hesitation, Alessia flexed her hands, revealing delicate yet strong fingers. "This means we are truly free together," Henry said, astonished at the moment's significance. "Yes, free," she echoed, gazing at him with an intensity that felt like a promise. "But who I am will always be a part of how we navigate the galaxy." "Tell me more about your life before all of this," he urged, his curiosity mounting. With a deep breath, she began recounting the grandeur of her home planet Lyra. She spoke of its colorful markets, where art thrived and the skies glimmered with celestial lights. "I was groomed to be a leader," she reflected, a hint of melancholy in her voice. "But I never wanted to follow merely because of tradition. I dreamed of exploration, of being more than just a figurehead to my people." Her story unfolded like a tapestry, revealing not just her past but her aspirations and regrets. As Alessia shared her memories, she allowed Henry glimpses into her soul. Each confession nudged the wall around her heart a little further down. "Why were you taken?" Henry asked gently, sensing the vulnerability beneath her strength. "My enemies conspired to seize the throne. I was captured while on a diplomatic mission," she explained, her voice thick with emotion. "They thought it would weaken my family's rule." "How could someone so powerful end up as a slave?" The question lingered heavily in the air. "They underestimated my will," she replied, her eyes fierce. "But they never could have imagined my spirit remaining unbroken." As days passed, they devised a plan to escape together, scouting the dock for weaknesses, forming strategies, and deepening their bond. In the midst of chaos, they found themselves laughing and stealing moments of intimacy, their relationship evolving from mere necessity to something deeper, something rich and vibrant. One evening, after a day filled with planning, Henry took a rare moment to breathe. "You have a spark in you, Alessia," he said, his tone sincere as they shared a quiet space under the stars. "I have to admit, you might be more than I bargained for." She grinned, her confidence palpable. "If you think I'm captivating as a slave, wait until you see what I can do as a partner." That night, beneath the vastness of the cosmos, their connection intensified. Henry could no longer see Alessia as merely a responsibility. She was a partner, a force of nature that complemented his own struggles and desires. They leaned closer, the world around them fading as they shared stolen kisses, tender yet charged with an undeniable heat. Each brush of their lips ignited something fierce, a promise of what could come from their intertwined fates. "Together then," Henry whispered, his breath mingling with hers. "Now and always." Alessia smiled, her spirit unyielding as she whispered back, "Together." As days turned to nights, Henry and Alessia meticulously prepared for their escape while navigating the complexities of their evolving relationship. Every moment spent together strengthened their bond, yet the shadows of danger loomed, reminding them that freedom was not guaranteed. "Tomorrow night is our chance," Henry announced as he mapped out their exit plan on a worn piece of paper. They gathered in a dimly lit corner of the dock, hidden beneath the shadows of towering crates filled with exotic goods. "Are you sure?" Alessia asked, leaning over the map, her delicate brows furrowed in concentration. "The guards are unpredictable. We must wait for their change shifts. I've watched them closely. The rotation changes every 4 hours, and we have a brief window of less than 10 minutes to slip through," Henry explained, excitement and anxiety mingling in his chest. "Once we're outside, I can acquire a small ship that will get us off this rock." Her gaze never wavered from his. "If we are to do this, we must work as one. There's no room for error." Henry nodded, both impressed and motivated by her determination. "Agreed. We have to trust each other fully." "I trust you, Henry, but you must believe in me as well." Her earnestness struck him. They had shared laughter and passion, but this request deepened the weight of their partnership. In that moment, he realized how much he admired her resilience. Nonetheless, confusion shrouded his thoughts. How could he fully trust someone born into privilege? Someone from a life so vastly different from his own? But as he looked into her fierce eyes, he sensed the truth of her heart. As night fell, excitement mingled with tension in the air. The glow of the distant city illuminated Alessia's features, highlighting the determination etched on her face. "This is it," Henry whispered, his resolve firm. He felt a rush of adrenaline surge through him, putting aside his doubts. "Ready." "Ready," she replied, her voice steady as steel. They slipped into the shadows, moving swiftly and silently. The soft sounds of their footfalls were drowned out by the distant chatter of the guards, their voices faint and muffled. Henry led the way, staying close to the grasp of the wall as they neared the exit. "Just past this corner," he murmured, and as they rounded the bend, 2 guards stood bickering, oblivious to the world beyond their watch. "Stay low," Henry instructed Alessia, his heart pounding against his ribcage. They slipped behind a crate just as the guards turned their heads. "Do you see that?" Alessia whispered, staring beyond the guards towards the open expanse where their freedom awaited. Henry focused on the path ahead. "When they move, we go. Just a few steps back from their view, and we'll be fine." Each second felt like an eternity. Fear coiled tightly in his chest. Finally, after what felt like hours, the guards shifted their attention, moving further down the corridor, their voices trailing off. Henry took a deep breath and gestured for Alessia to follow. "Run," he urged, and they dashed as quietly as possible towards the large cargo doors, freedom just a few steps ahead. Suddenly, a loud clang shattered the silence. They swung around to witness one of the crates tumbling over, catching the guards' attention. "Stop!" one of them shouted, his face twisting in anger. The air echoed with urgency as Henry and Alessia raced towards the exit, fear propelling them forward. They barely made it through the doors as they were thrown open, their focus singular, escape. "Almost there," Henry yelled, adrenaline coursing through his veins, pushing him forward. They sprinted across the open space until they reached a small ship, a sleek vessel with the insignia of an unauthorized trade unit. "Get in!" he shouted, quickly pressing buttons as he entered the ship's cabin. Alessia followed, her movements swift. As they activated the ship, Henry glanced outside, spotting the guards helplessly scrambling towards them. He fumbled with the controls, his hands shaking with urgency. "Henry, come on," Alessia urged, her eyes wide with fear and excitement. "We have to take off now." "I'm trying," he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. Just as he entered the final command to power the ship, the sound of blaring alarms echoed in the night. "Now!" he shouted, slamming the throttle as they shot into the starry sky. The ground fell away rapidly, the merchant's dock shrinking beneath them, a world of past failures left behind. As they soared away from the dock, the fear slowly dissipated into laughter. They exchanged glances filled with exhilaration and disbelief at their success. "Can you believe it?" Alessia exclaimed, her voice vibrant with joy. "We did it! We escaped!" "Yeah," Henry said, a grin breaking across his face, the tension of the moment transforming into euphoria. "We actually did it." "But where will we go now?" she asked, her laughter fading into contemplation. "I can't return to Lyra without resources, and I am still in danger." He leaned back in the pilot seat, contemplating their next move. "I have some contacts who can help us get to safety. After that, we'll figure it out together." "Together," she echoed, her voice soft yet powerful. In that moment, amidst the stars, the gravity of their journey together settled in. They each carried scars, stories of loss and survival, but now they faced the future bound by trust and an unspoken promise. They would protect each other no matter the cost. The small ship hummed beneath them as it sliced through the darkness of space, the stars swirling like a sea of diamonds. Henry piloted with a newfound sense of freedom. They had escaped the clutches of the merchant and his mercenaries, but the vast unknown ahead felt both exhilarating and daunting. "You're a great pilot," Alessia said, admiration lighting her features as she leaned closer to look at the controls. "I can't believe how effortless you make it seem." "Just a lot of practice," Henry replied, his confidence growing as he navigated through the cosmos, thankful that his previous trading experience had taught him the intricacies of flying small spacecraft. "But I'm glad to have you alongside me." Their next destination was a safe haven Henry had heard of, a remote space station rumored to be a melting pot for renegades, traders, and the occasional outlaw. The idea of meeting shady characters made him uneasy, but it was their best shot at finding support. "Will it be safe?" Alessia asked, her voice colored with uncertainty. "Safer than staying put," he assured her. "They're traders like me. If we play our cards right, we can keep a low profile while restocking." "Restocking? Do I have to pretend to be a slave again?" she questioned, a hint of defiance in her voice. Henry turned his head slightly to meet her gaze, seeing the fire buried beneath her concern. "No, you're free now, Alessia. I won't let anyone treat you that way again." She smiled, a beautiful, soft curve of her lips that sent a rush of warmth through his veins. "I want to learn. I want to contribute to our safety and future." "Then let's do this together," Henry replied, feeling a swell of admiration for her spirit. "You may find you have a knack for negotiation yet." After a day and a half of travel, the space station came into view, a sprawling complex with blending hues of neon lights and a whirring atmosphere that buzzed with excitement and anxiety. As they approached, Henry's heart raced. Their future held both promise and peril. "Here goes nothing," he murmured, guiding the ship into a docking bay as dim lights flickered overhead. They exited the craft, stepping into a bustling hub filled with all manner of beings from various corners of the galaxy. The sounds of trade and chatter washed over them like waves. Henry took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. "Stick close. We should find a bar," he advised, scanning the crowd. "That's where the most information flows." Alessia nodded, her eyes bright with curiosity. This place is amazing. Look at the diversity. As they made their way through the throng, their contrasting appearances turned heads. His rugged attire stood in stark contrast to her ethereal beauty. Yet, rather than feeling out of place, they found strength in their differences. Inside a dimly lit bar, the air pulsed with energy. Holographic images of the galaxy's greatest novelties flashed on screens, complemented by laughter and the clinking of glasses. "It's wild in here," Alessia said, a hint of disbelief coloring her tone. "It's like an adventure in itself." Henry slipped onto a bar stool, waving the bartender over. "2 drinks, whatever strong." He grinned. He felt the thrill of their journey beginning anew, but the shadows of danger lingered nearby. As they settled in and took their drinks, Henry casually surveyed the crowd. A group in the corner appeared to be exchanging information, their demeanor secretive and intense. "Let's keep our voices low," he said, leaning toward Alessia. "I'll approach that group and see if they know anything about bounty hunters or mercenaries on our tail. Stay close." Alessia nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "I'll listen in. I'm good at picking up on details." He watched as she drifted toward the opposite side of the bar, her presence commanding attention even in casual attire. Her confidence grew, emanating an aura that contrasted against her previous captive status. As she spoke to one of the patrons, Henry's heart swelled with pride, but he kept a wary eye on the others. "Who knew I'd be traveling with a royal negotiator?" he muttered to himself, a smirk crossing his lips. After several tense minutes, Alessia's laughter rang through the air, mingling with the atmosphere. Henry felt a rush of emotions as their gazes met, a shared connection forming between them. But as he approached her, a looming figure in the bar caught his attention, a stocky alien with a reputation that preceded him. "Ignatius!" He introduced himself gruffly, his presence commanding the bar's attention. "I hear you're in need of some help." Perplexed yet cautious, Henry glanced at Alessia, who seemed intrigued but wary. "We're just passing through," Henry replied, trying to gauge the large alien's intentions. Nevertheless, Ignatius leaned closer. "Pass-throughs usually attract attention, and I sense there's more to your story." He sized up Alessia, his expression calculating. "What did this girl do to end up here?" "She's with me. No one's asking about her." Henry shot back, protective instincts flaring. Ignatius chuckled darkly. "A pretty thing like her. The galaxy doesn't play fair. You'll want to keep her safe unless you want trouble." Alessia straightened, her fierce resolve palpable. "My past does not define me, nor does it dictate my worth." Henry couldn't help but admire her courage and poise. Ignatius's eyes narrowed in interest as he observed the exchange. "Well-spoken, princess, but know that trouble often finds the unprepared." "Then we'll prepare," Henry asserted, looking straight at Ignatius. "I won't let anything happen to her." Ignatius's grin widened, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "You two make an intriguing pair. If you need allies, you can find me. The paths can be dangerous, but connections may prove helpful." With a nod, he departed, leaving Henry gritting his teeth. He couldn't shake the uneasy feeling growing in his gut. The shadows of danger that loomed felt closer, but with Alessia beside him, they would face whatever awaited. "Who was that?" Alessia asked, her voice teasing yet probing. "Just a dealer. He seemed interested in our story," Henry replied, still processing the encounter. "But he's warning us about the dangers we're facing. We should stay alert." "Whatever it takes," she said, her grip tightening around her glass as determination filled her gaze. "We can't let anyone keep us from our goal, not anyone." Henry felt a pulse of hope surge within him. With Alessia at his side, they would navigate whatever twisted path lay ahead, joining forces as partners, forging their own destiny against whatever the galaxy decided to throw their way. The bar buzzed with life, its energy washing over Henry and Alessia as they exchanged conspiratorial glances, invigorated by their escape and the possibilities that lay ahead. But amidst the excitement, the undercurrents of danger and intrigue began to seep back into their lives. "Let's find a secure place to plan our next move," Henry suggested, leaning closer to Alessia as the atmosphere thickened with tension. The warning from Ignatius loomed large in his mind. Their every step could lead to potential disaster, but the thrill of the unknown also excited them both. They moved through the bustling hallway, navigating past traders and patrons who were either lost in their business or too absorbed in their drinks. Alessia walked closely at his side, her presence grounding him. He felt both protector and partner, and it fueled his determination to keep her safe. Once on the station's upper level, they found a small alcove away from the crowd. "Here should work," Henry said, leaning against the wall as they took a moment to gather their thoughts. "Let's outline what we need," Alessia stated, her voice steady. The confidence she exuded made him proud. She was becoming a formidable ally. "We still need resources, supplies, and information about potential ships we can acquire. We can't rely on just one avenue," he replied, mentally listing their needs. She nodded thoughtfully. "And we need allies, but we have to be careful. If Ignatius is to be trusted, he knows the stakes. Bounty hunters and mercenaries will be hunting for me." "Agreed," he said, but as a shadow passed overhead, doubt began to mingle with conviction. Would they be enough to withstand the storm? "We'll need to move quickly before word of our escape spreads." As they began discussing options, the moment was abruptly shattered by the arrival of two figures entering the alcove. Henry's defenses went up instantly, eyes narrowing as he registered their imposing presence. "We were told you might be here," the taller of the two said, gold-trimmed armor catching the light as he stepped forward. His companion, stockier and more menacing, watched Henry with a predatory gleam in his eyes. "Leave us be," Henry demanded, trying to keep his voice steady despite the rush of adrenaline. He couldn't allow any more complications, especially not now that they were so close to safety. The armored figure smirked, slanting his head to one side. "You think you can just take off with her? Don't you know who we are?" Alessia stiffened beside him, her presence radiating strength. "I will not go back to being a prisoner." "How noble," the golden-armored man mocked, taking a step closer to them. "But you don't understand the depth of your situation, princess." Ice trailed down Henry's spine. "Don't call her that." "No," the man said, dismissing Henry with a wave of his hand. "You don't grasp the danger you're in." Henry clenched his fists, a protective instinct manifesting within him. "Move away from us." But the taller figure moved closer, leaning in as if to intimidate. "Word travels fast in the galaxy, especially about a runaway slave princess. You have a bounty to collect, and those looking for you are moving in fast." Suddenly, the danger of their freedom slipped from his fingers like sand. "Let her go," Henry said, his voice dropping to a growl. "She's free now, and we're here to retrieve what rightfully belongs to the crown." The armored man sneered, his sharp features betraying his confidence. Without thinking, Henry lunged, but the stocky companion was quicker. He grabbed Henry and threw him against the wall, the wind knocking out of him. Pain shot through his body, but he refused to back down. Alessia, fierce and unyielding, took a step forward. "You'll regret this. I won't be taken easily." Her voice rang with authority, defiant against the overwhelming odds. The golden-armored man let out a hearty laugh. "Such spirit, but you have no allies here." In that moment, something snapped within Henry. He couldn't let them take her. Drawing on adrenaline and instinct, he recovered his strength and lunged again. This time, he managed to swing his fist, connecting with the stocky man's jaw. The impact reverberated through his arms, sending the man stumbling back. "Run, Alessia," Henry shouted, heart pounding as he turned to protect her. But she hesitated, watching him with a mixture of fear and admiration. "Go," he urged, unrelenting. As the larger man regained his footing, he charged at Henry, fist swinging. They engaged in a fierce battle, Henry landing punches and grappling with the opponent, but the odds were stacked against him. Just as Henry felt himself starting to lose ground, Alessia stepped beside him, her fierce spirit igniting once more. "This ends now," she declared, grabbing a metal pipe from the ground and swinging it with untrained ferocity. "Alessia!" he yelled, surprised and proud all at once, as she struck the armored man across the legs. The man hissed in pain, staggering, while Henry seized the opportunity to push him against the wall, the two of them grappling for control. The stocky man, however, was still on his feet, charging at Henry. But Alessia was unrelenting. She swung again, this time targeting the stocky attacker with her makeshift weapon. The blow connected, and he stumbled to the side, stunned. In a flash of adrenaline-fueled courage, Henry seized the moment. He delivered a powerful jab that sent the taller man crashing to the ground, gasping for breath. "Now!" Henry shouted, seizing Alessia's hand as they made a break for it, adrenaline pushing them forward as the world around them faded to a blur of color and sound. They raced down the corridor, hearts pounding and breaths mingling with exhilaration and fear. They didn't stop until they reached the docking bay, the small ship offering a sanctuary amidst the chaos. "We need to leave now," Henry panted, hastily securing the door behind them as he scrambled to take the pilot's seat. Alessia nodded fiercely, determination lighting her face. "I won't let anyone take me back." As the engines roared to life, Henry took one last glance at the docking bay, a glimpse of danger left in their wake. With a push of a button, they soared into the unknown, the station fading behind them like a distant nightmare. "Where to now?" Alessia asked, her voice a mix of nerves and excitement. "Anywhere but here," Henry replied, casting a glance toward the stars that awaited them. "Together, we'll make our own path. We'll gather allies, confront our pursuers, and finally claim our freedom." "Together," she echoed, locking her gaze with his, the unspoken promise lingering in the air. As the stars stretched out before them like a canvas unpainted, their journey was only beginning. They would face all the darkness in the galaxy for a chance at building their own future, unshackled by chains of the past. As the small ship piloted through the dark expanse of space, a calm settled between Henry and Alessia. The dangers from the space station faded, leaving only the rush of adrenaline in their veins and the thrill of freedom igniting something deep within them. After escaping the docking station, Henry charted a course for a nearby planet known for its lush landscapes and remote villages where traders could blend in and find safety. They had to lay low, but the world around them would soon provide an unexpected sanctuary. "Where are we headed?" Alessia asked, her arms crossed over her chest as they soared through the stars. Despite their recent struggles, the enthusiasm in her voice lit up Henry's heart. "A planet called Solara," he replied, glancing at her. "It's small and rarely patrolled by bounty hunters. We can find shelter until we figure out our next steps." "Good," she said, her eyes sparkling with life. "I like the sound of it. I want to experience something beyond the shadows." As they approached Solara, the ship descended towards a beautiful, vibrant landscape dotted with greens and blues. Rolling hills and vast fields rolled as far as the eye could see, inviting in their warmth. Upon landing, they stepped onto solid ground. Alessia closed her eyes, taking in the scent of unfamiliar flowers blooming all around. "It's beautiful," she breathed, a serene smile gracing her lips. "It is," Henry said, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders as he surveyed their safe harbor. "And for the first time, we can take a breath without fear." As evening fell, they set up a small camp, using the ship as a makeshift shelter. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, and the sounds of nature filled the air. This place felt worlds away from their recent turmoil. Alessia helped him gather firewood, and soon flames flickered to life, casting warm light on their surroundings. They sat close, the warmth of the fire igniting a different kind of heat between them. "What now?" Alessia asked, her gaze fixated on the dancing flames. "We can't let our guard down forever." "True, but tonight, let's just enjoy being away from it all," he replied, finding comfort in her presence. "We've faced so much already, and we deserve a moment to breathe." They spoke of dreams, aspirations, and places they had always longed to see. Laughter soon filled the air as they recounted their pasts, struggles intertwined with moments of joy. But amidst all this newfound intimacy, there lingered a tension, an unspoken understanding of what lay beneath their interactions. Or perhaps, Alessia began, a teasing glint in her eyes, we could spend the night exploring other adventures. Henry's heart raced at her bold suggestion, pulse quickening as he leaned closer. Are you suggesting what I think you are? Her laughter broke the night's tranquility, the rich sound wrapping around him like a blanket. Only if you're brave enough to take it. Feeling a current of desire surge through him, he closed the gap, their faces mere inches apart. Trust me, I'm not one to back down from a challenge, especially not one as temptingly filled with both danger and delight. With that, their lips connected, igniting a fire that had been smoldering between them since the moment they met. Alessia responded with equal fervor, pushing toward him, her warmth engulfing him as they sank deeper into the embrace. The kiss ignited with passion, their desires surging forth with reckless abandon. Henry trailed his hands along her waist, feeling the softness of her skin beneath the fabric of her clothing. Each caress sent shivers racing through him. He discovered new strength in his hands as he pulled her closer. Alessia, are you sure? He whispered, pulling back as uncertainty flickered behind his gaze. She nodded, her breathing heavy with anticipation. I've waited long enough for this moment, Henry. You showed me that I am more than a title, more than a slave. I want to explore that us. With a breathless smile, she captured his lips once more, and the world melted away. He knew they faced uncertainty ahead, but in this moment, nothing else mattered. They found their way to the soft grass beneath the star-studded sky, entwined as they kissed. Reverently, Henry undid the delicate fabric of her clothing, savoring each moment, losing himself in the profound connection they shared. The weight of their pasts faded with each kiss. The longing between them pulsed like the stars above. Alessia arched into his touch, her breath hitching as he explored her body with newfound freedom. They lost themselves in one another, discovering boundaries that transformed into blossoming trust. With every whisper of acceptance and delicacy, sensations heightened. Their past struggles were replaced by hope and a promise of a shared future. As they embraced the intimacy of the night, each shared moment sparked magic between them. Raw desire intermingled with something deeper. Henry had never felt so connected to someone. Their bodies entwined beneath the stars, the cosmos a witness to the bond they were forming. Flames flickered, casting shadows and reflections, punctuating the significance of their union, a testament to all they had endured to reach this point. Together, Henry breathed between kisses, repeating the promise they had continued to affirm throughout their journey. Forever, Alessia nodded, eyes gleaming with unshed tears of joy. Their connection blossomed, transcending the physical, each caress, each kiss affirming their commitment and trust. As the night wore on, the world around them became a distant echo. They surrendered to the intimacy they had craved, two souls discovering themselves anew where once they felt lost. As dawn broke, painting the horizon in hues of gold and amber, Henry and Alessia lay entwined, the remnants of their night together imprinted on their hearts. They had navigated danger, and now, with their newfound bond, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Where do we go from here? Alessia asked, her voice soft but filled with determination. To conquer whatever comes our way, Henry replied, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You're no longer just a princess or a slave. You're my equal, my partner. And together, we will find a new path, a horizon yet unexplored. With renewed conviction, they rose together to start their day. The galaxy lay before them, a vast expanse, infinite with possibilities and potential. United, they would carve their own path. Two hearts once shackled, now free, holding the promise of adventure within their grasp. Whatever shadows lingered would have to reckon with the light they had found in each other. Love was their guiding star, illuminating the journey ahead as they ventured forth into uncharted territories.